moment, which is it being so hard and difficult to even get a job. And that's what I'm going to talk about today, because me personally, yeah, I've got 23 years, I don't like saying this, of experience within this industry, yeah. And I still find it hard to find a job in UK construction. Why is that? I've asked myself so many questions. Is it because I'm unemployable? Is it because my CV isn't good enough? Or is it because of the market is being saturated? So let me give you a little bit of a background in myself, yeah? So I've worked at residential high-end homes in West End, right? I've also worked in commercial dwellings. I've done some social work before, social housing and stuff like that. But I generally do building services and anything mechanical when it comes to construction. But I've just been struggling, like probably all of us, when it comes to finding a job and actually nailing that job. Like at points I thought it was me, but I realized everybody's struggling, but nobody's talking about it. So I'm here just to talk about it, because I think me being transparent with the situation and being honest allows others to have a good understanding, but it just tells everyone, you know, what's going on in the industry. So I'm going to run through a few things which I have been doing to give people a little bit of a backstory, but to let you guys understand a little bit more. So I started off my journey as a plumber, yeah, working for a company who is mechanically biased, who is a mechanical company. They mainly deal with plumbers. We obviously had electricians that worked there as well. I done I moved on to more of a busy area, which was West London. And at times, I've felt that I've been quite successful. I know that everybody is replaceable in every single job. Yeah, I don't, that's just normal. But I worked my way up from just being a plumber to being the site supervisor. I've worked at data centers and I've also worked at hospitals as well. So those are quite jobs which are stable. Do you know what I mean? In society, we've got a lot of data centers which require people who have HVAC backgrounds and people who have worked anything to do with mechanical or hard services. Mechanical and hard services are going to be your chillers. It's going to be things like pumps. It's going to be things like bellows. It's going to be things like HIUs. I've worked on all of these types of things. And I thought, by giving myself a broad outlook on the stuff what I can actually do as an engineer, it actually makes me a little bit more employable than other people, because myself, like I said, I've been in it 23 years. I've had a lot of experience, went from different sites to different sites. But this year and last year has been the most difficult for me to be able to just get along and have something solid. So I didn't know if a lot of other people were going through this in 2026. And I think that is something that a lot of people are probably a little bit ashamed to talk about, not being able to get a job. But the market is definitely saturated. The market has been affected by recruiters wasting tradespeople's times. And I'm just going to say it like how it is, because I do speak to a lot of recruiters and people who are in that field, and they promise to match you with a job which matches your skill set. In hindsight, I'm just going to burst that bubble now and be honest with you lot, is that they match you to something which is below what you can do. Sorry, not above. So I'm a qualified supervisor, but they would still want me to do an engineer's job, knowingly that it doesn't have any longevity in it for me. And climbing up the scale of work doesn't always look appealing to someone like myself. And maybe it's because I have got to the point in my own life where my skills, my qualifications, my experience, it all must be summed up and paid for in some roundabout bubble. But that doesn't always happen, So I've had to take jobs which, if I closed my eyes, I could never see myself doing it. But for the sake of money and the sake of staying stable and consistent, which is something which you do need to do when you live in London, you know, um, it takes it took a lot out of me to do something like that. You know, just because not because I thought the job was degrading to what I'm doing or what I have done. It's just I felt a lot of the time that it was backward steps in channeling to move forward to be able to get a better position. So recruiters and stuff like that, I did give them a hard time, I'll be honest, because I know when someone's wasting my time, when someone's talking to me unnecessary, asking and fishing about what have I been doing, when you can see that in front of the CV, and you don't really get to know someone by having a conversation over the phone. It's just it doesn't work like that today. I've had many interviews, and I'm going to tell you about one because there's no point in me breaking down this as a story time if there's no story to it. So I say recently, a couple of months ago, I got a job with Santander, the head of Santander. This is in Houston, right? And what I was told was that we'll babysit in the building. Cool, no problem. It's a job, Uh, they want you to be there. They want you to have a good attitude. They want you to know what you're talking about, be assertive, make decisions, and generally just make the place safe. That's all the job it consists of. But what I'm finding more frequently is that the job which is advertised to you is not the job what is given out. It's something different, you know. And I've worked and had full-time jobs many a times before. And what I didn't do is check the contract in the ways I should have been checking contracts, which is going through them. And even if you don't know how to read the contracts properly to do with the terminology, because they do use a lot of words, and you say to yourself, what the hell is that? I put it in Chat GP. I ask the questions what I need to ask. And we generally get the answers what we need to get. And some of them are, you know, I don't see this job being productive long term, which doesn't work out for me, but it works out for the people who are there because they might be at a different stage to me. So what I'm kind of saying is that what's been the most difficult is getting to all of these points, realizing that the contract which I was given initially doesn't really match up with my expectations, which that's kind of a self thing. I think some of us ask more from jobs than others, let's say. I do. I'm not interested in someone telling me that I'm going to get a gym membership at work. I have my own gym membership. It's cool that you offer these things as a package, but generally, the pension, all of the rest of the stuff is just all the same. It's just generic, to be honest with you. And it brought me to the point of being open with myself and saying, this doesn't really work long term, when it comes to finding the right career path for yourself. And I get it. What I had to do was I had to change my own CV from having the engineer background, which I have got, the plumbing background, which I have got, the experience, which I have got, play a big difference in the type of money you get, how serious people take you, which is very true. But even from the engineer and the supervisor's point of view, I mean, I know personally someone has to give you a chance. And a lot of the people who are in these processes, i.e., the agencies vetting the people and stuff like that, they have no idea about your qualifications, your skill level. They're just reading from a bit of paper. And at times, obviously, I've been hard with them, which is getting straight to the point, telling them, look, I'm not here for your nonsense, innit? I'm not here for your... Don't keep asking me what have I been doing when you can see it in front of you, what I've been doing as in terms of work-wise. So I've obviously been put off of it a lot, you know, and it's pushed me to going down the route of working self-employed for a while. But I realized even that at this point in my life, I'm just chasing my tail. And that's not something I want to do. And I wouldn't even suggest other people to do that. So I'll be super transparent on my YouTube channel. These are things which I've went through my own life experience. I know that others might not have these types of problems because they don't go for certain high-end jobs or jobs which I go for, you know. But at the end of the day, my channel is about me and about me being super transparent about the industry, what I'm in. Even though I love being a plumber, I actually enjoy going to work, fixing stuff and getting from A to B. That's what I enjoy. I really enjoy that. But the stress and the ag of finding a job has been going on for the best part of 6 months. Be honest. It's took me 6 months to find a job. But even though I've got a job, yeah, I don't have a contract because the agency, the vetting point, they're all pulling their shoes. They're moving slow about the process. When I know the process isn't always instant, but depending on what type of point people want to get you on, if they want to get you on a temp to permanent contract, because you see a lot of that within the industry. What I'm in is a lot of temp to permanent, but it's becoming more worrying because I do not see a a, a future, and that's kind of the problem because it seems to be getting harder and harder. It seems to be putting all your eggs in this basket. It's not making sense. I'll be honest. You know, so some years ago, obviously, I did venture into making content and collaborating and realizing that there's a big bag in there for me because I'm maybe I'm a minority in what I do. So as a young black tradesman, I am a minority. You know, I rarely go to places and I see other supervisors or managers who are black. So I kind of realized that this might be a little bit more difficult for me than others. And I have got to tell you about this as well. Look, I'm not a arse kisser at work. Yeah, I'll just be honest, innit? I don't do all that stuff. I do my job. I'd be very due diligent, yeah, with what I do because I've worked at a lot of high-end places. And when I say high-end places, I mean for billionaires, not for millions, billionaires. These people, they're being cool working for all of these people. You know, some people are difficult, but you're going to get that in life. today I'm having to do something a little bit different, people. I want to know if the quality is okay, because I'm doing it off of my iPad, because my camera's not working at the moment. But I appreciate you guys for subscribing and liking, because that always matters to me. So let's get back to this point on how I feel about the construction industry in 2026, because that's what this video is kind of about. It's struggling, it's dying, it's fucked up, you know. And at points, I often wonder how some people get on with it, you know, because I could be super transparent and speak about my own situation, but I know that others suffer in silence. And they suffer because a lot of the money is being taken out by the middleman. There ain't a lot of money in it anyway. And the sake of it being taken out by the middleman is messing it up for everybody else. Some of the big companies who have came into building services, HVAC services, that are monopolizing just getting as many people as possible, not being able to hold on to them for long term, you know. And someone like myself who is more bothered about security and a steady flow of income, it just seems to be harder and harder to make a wage, or even just to even look forward and say, you know, in 3 years' time, 4 years' time, I'm going to be able to get a mortgage, or I'm going to be able to do something of that magnitude. At the moment, a lot of that looks like no, because the salaries at the moment do not reflect what you actually should be getting at all. So it makes it difficult for all of us. You know, I recently looked at a job, and it said it had good life balance, right? You start at 8 o'clock and you finish at 8 o'clock at night. What life balance is that? What sturdy relationship can you have with a woman who's going to be waiting up for you every day? And from 2 hours when you get in, it's 10 o'clock. It's time to go to bed. You can't really do much. There ain't going to be no gym. There ain't going to be no putting your kids to bed. They'll be in bed already. You'll be seeing these not only when they're teenagers. But honestly, even when I'm making this video, yeah, I have to be honest with myself. I enjoy what I do. I wouldn't want to do anything else. But at this point, I know that other options have to be considered. You know, I think it was about 2 years ago, I actually went and I worked. I didn't really tell anybody about this, but I went and I worked at a YMCA, and I done painting and stuff like that. And I was happy because I was getting paid. I wasn't getting paid the amount what I'd normally get paid, not at all. But I was just happy to have a job and be thankful. And now you can't even get to that place because of jobs. They're just not available. Like, and a lot of the agency staff, yeah, obviously pick people on how they can control them. And that's something what's not really spoken about a lot. So if I was on the phone to the agency, yeah, and I said to them, okay, so you're looking to pay people from £150 to 250. What is the reason why you would pay someone the higher end? And a lot of the time, it's very hard for them to answer me. And even me asking that question to them, yeah, they might look at that as this guy's like a red flag guy because he automatically is starting to ask about the biggest bag or how much can he really get. But that's the real sole reason why we all go to work, is to earn. And if I'm not earning nothing, it doesn't make sense in me doing it. You know, I thought I was really onto something by speaking about my experiences as a plumber over the years and just being transparent about it, because I know that people learn from other people's mistakes. You know, I watch many people on YouTube speak about their work balance and how they get it right. And I've had to do some adjusting mindset for myself, because at times I think I overthink it. And a lot of the time I can worry myself when I don't need to. But for every day you're not at work as a plumber, yeah, you kind of feel wasteful, is the word. Because I know how easy it is to make money in it, and how different it is now because it's changed. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the self-employed thing and how that was going, because some of you lot who do tune into my channel would have seen some of the content which I've made most recently. So some of the content which I made was based on me working self-employed, which it was cool. I enjoyed it. I got to get a lot of experience, you know. Um, and that was week in the life of a real plumber. If you've never checked any of them out, they're on my page now for you to check out. And it's like me giving you a full day in the life for the week, split up into content, telling you the types of hurdles, types of problems. And I never spoke about money on that thing, but I'm not being paid a lot of money. And I know that, but I feel that that type of thing kind of built me in a different way. It helped me understand deeply what it would take me to set up a business. And I've done a video on it before, worked out to be about 30 grand. I don't know who in their mum and their dad has got 30 grand to push into a plumbing business, knowingly that it might not work, knowingly that you might suffer, knowingly that most businesses fail within the first year. Even my own plumbing business is not as busy as I would like it to be. You could chase jobs, chase leads, but I speak to a few different people who have construction businesses, right? And one of my friends, he told me that he pays, I think it's about £1,000 a month for leads online. And I'll be honest, that £1,000 needs to go to some Gucci shoes. Can't be going to this thing every time. I'm joking. You do need to invest within your business and invest within yourself. But there's a point where you say to yourself, you know what? This is a bit too much. Because you're not seeing a level of profit and return to equal out what you're paying out. And I feel that that is one of the main problems, you know, with this industry, is that doing things self-employed, you got to be the fastest person to reply. You got to be the lowest price, and you've got hella competition out there. I'm not saying that I'm not better than the competition, but every client would want you to prove that on every single job, which is hard to do when you're restricted with budget, time, and possibly materials. So doing the job quickly and not sometimes is best. Those people are getting by. And that's something which I've realized. So, like there might be a project which someone wants me to do. Generally, I might say to them, I'm going to solder all the pipe work. No, we're just going to do it in a speed fit. We're just going to do it in plastic. It's easier. It doesn't look as good. They ain't paying as much. And I think sometimes when you start to balance it out in a sense of we've got to cut back on the materials so we can have a reasonable profit, and there ain't a lot of profit in it, it just makes you think sometimes. And I'll be totally honest with my thing. My thing is all about transparency. Um, Over from 2025 to 2026, I've just seen it get worse and worse. We are 5 months into the year now, and it's not started to pick up. I speak to, and I have spoken to, in a week, I might speak to about 8 people who have agencies and jobs. Yeah. So I'm constantly looking. And that's tiring in itself because for me, a recruiter, a company, someone wasting my time chatting shit, I mean, we can't speak again. I'm a good remember of people's names. That helps me avoid a lot of those people who I know have wasted my time, you know, time what I'm never going to get back, offered me something which wasn't available. What are you talking about, mate? That job isn't out yet. Or the spec what you've given me, by the time I've had an interview with it, the people have told me something different. What are you talking about? They said they want an engineer to stand by on the site. You've told me it's a lead engineer job. It's not a lead. You're not leading anybody but yourself. But it's the wording. And it's the wording which gets a lot of people messed up. Even myself at points, like I've said to people, well, what's advertised and what you're asking me to do is two different things, right? So let's just get onto the same page. So I'm not thinking that I'm going into a scenario where I'm going to be leading the site. I'm going into a scenario where it's a static site, which means it's one place, and I'm doing all the work. And you want me to help you, which is understandable because I don't know why people call it help within this industry because it shouldn't be. It's just work. Like you'd want me to help you or work with you so you grow as a company, and I get what? What would I be getting in exchange? It's really hard for people to fathom what you would get in exchange if it's not money. And a lot of the time, they do want help. They do want someone to help them build. They want people to stay at their companies, but there is no incentives. There's no incentives. So it's made me look high and low, you know. The places where I've been looking for work, I used to work at a hospital. I worked at many hospitals before, so I've worked in a lot of critical sites, high end developments, clients, sites, supervisor role. So that has been my career path generally, yeah. And on the side, I do plumbing jobs. I do a couple of jobs for Sarah, a couple of jobs for Jones, whatever. Tie yourself over. But at some points, you're just going from pillar to post. Back and forward, back and forward, back and forward. Yes, you do make something to some degree, but is it enough? And if it was enough, I would never be doing this video. And I do this video because I like to be transparent. Like, I don't like to chat shit to my audience. What's the point? You're not getting the real me. You're not understanding where I'm coming from if you don't understand, obviously, most of my background or what I have been doing previously. And it takes a lot out of you because it wears you down at points. You know, a lot of the time when I come on, I've just got a happy face. I mean, I know that things can change in a split of a hat, you know, as a plumber or as someone that does what I do, because someone with the type of experience what I've got, it's a small bubble. There's only a certain amount of people that have got this type of experience in these types of scenarios. But again, the recruiters are not calling. The companies are not hiring. Companies do not hire people directly. Last time I had a full-time job where I was employed directly, it was, how many years ago was that? Three to 4 years ago. But again, that was through a recruitment agency. And in the beginning, obviously, the recruitment agency and these people play like they're your best friend. Oh, how's it going, mate? Oh, what you up to this weekend? All this like blasé chat, which, you know, like, it's up to you to entertain it, innit? I don't really entertain it. It's not for me. I just tell people, I ask people, oh, yeah, how can I help you? I say that straight away. How can I help you? Because if I seem like I'm not busy all the time, yeah, they will call me for nonsense chatting. When I mean nonsense chatting, I mean, just calling you to see what you're up to see what jobs you're on at the moment. What the hell? I thought you had a vacancy for me. Oh no, I'm just inquiring to see if you're doing anything at the moment. Big up Ben's in the chat, yeah. I see you, my bro. Appreciate everyone who stayed on. I can see a couple people on right now. If you're on, just hit the like. That's all I need you to do. Because when I talk about my own life, yeah, it's a bit of therapy for me. It's a bit of me being able to be nothing but transparent. Again, I can only reiterate to you that I loathe what I do. I wouldn't want to do something else. But a lot of the time now, I have to consider other options. Over the years, I've known that even as a qualified plumber, yeah, if I want to get like a quick job, I might do a handyman job. I'm not gonna lie to you. Some of them handyman jobs are paying the same amounts as some plumbers. I could show you some shit online where you could get the same amount of money, if not a little bit better. And I thought, maybe that's just a couple of those places, but it's not, because the rate of pay for a plumber, yeah, on a day rate or rate has stayed the same for the best part of 3-4 years, and inflation obviously has went up. All of these things have a knock-on effect, you know, petrol going up, all of these types of things, and you start saying to yourself, shit's not worth it. The shit is not worth it, what you're doing. So you got to kind of make it work for yourself, innit? Me being like 23 years in, I don't want to be accepting anything less than like 900 or £1,000 a week. I know I'm asking for a lot, but it is what it is, isn't it? People with less experience would ask for less money, right? And less qualifications. But I've had this whirlwind of experience and qualifications, and at points it's made me be overqualified for most jobs. So I might be, and this has happened to me many a times, like a time when I'm not working right now. I'm looking for, I might go for an engineer's job. They will look at it and be like, I don't think this is the right fit for you, you know, because you've done this and you've done that, and we're looking for someone who's going to be more long term. Brother, I'm just trying to get a job. That's all I'm trying to do, trying to pay my bills. I might even stay if it's okay, because at some point, sometimes when you get into something what's been good to you, you feel like, what's the point in leaving? And I've felt like that loads of times. What's the point in leaving? I might as well stay here. I know these people. It's okay. Don't have to do loads of work. I'm not the supervisor. I'm not the person taking the responsibility. They are. And in the end, it all ends up coming back to the same point. It just never works out. And that's been the record, what's been playing for the last 3-4 years. I can only say to you, look, that I truly do look for stable places now, because what matters to me is consistency. What matters to me is having something solid so I can do other stuff in life. And it's not even to like buy a fancy car, it's just to live a normal life, which it's just become so difficult to do just because of people not seeing your experience for what it is. And like I said, the industry being so saturated, it's crazy. And sometimes when I go into places as an agency worker, because I've done that many a times, the people who work there, I'm thinking, how the fuck did you get a job and I can't? No, how? Seriously, I would like to know how, because I've worked with engineers who claim they're mechanically biased but can't fix a leak, claim they are an engineer but still don't understand certain basics about a softener machine, which is an ROR plant for, it's to do with water treatment and stuff. For those who don't know, and it baffles me, and sometimes it makes me think, like, is it my attitude? Is it me? But I don't be rude to anybody. If somebody asks me about something, I just tell them, well, this is what it does. Again, if you want to debate with me, like, how the hell do you know that? I'll tell you how I know. I don't have any secrets. I don't care about being the smartest person at work or knowing everything, because I know a lot of the environments what I go into are male driven. And when you tend to know too much, people think, oh, you think you know it all. Oh, you think you're one of those guys. Someone needs to know shit, because none of you lot do. Yeah, I get that. But as I've matured, I've tend to stay away from that argumentative, that person who feels like they know everything, this person who's got it in for other people. I stay away from all that. You know, I like to go to work, go home. That's it. I don't like to socialize too much with all that, because at the end of the day, I'm one person doing a job. I've got to get it done. If I don't perform, I will not be paid. If I don't do my job, I won't have a job. That's just how it is, you know. But I think there's a lot of pressure, in a sense of people who work in these environments pressured to get people who they're not the best fit. They know they're not the best fit, but they know those people are going to stick and stay there because there's no other opportunities for them. I always ask my audience and the people who subscribe to the channel, because you lot should be liked, shared, and subscribed. How are you finding the job market at the moment? This is specifically based upon people who are in construction. You know, my truth might be a lot different from others, or it might be a line of transparency because I look self-employed, I look employed, and I still see the same shit. Still see it. So I would always like to ask you guys for your feedback. Hopefully, the camera angle wasn't too bad on the live today. I'm actually going to watch it back when I get off just to see how it looked. But I appreciate everyone for coming in and just checking out this video, innit? Because today was more about why is this industry like this and why it's so difficult. Big up Biz because he said young black men try to get into the trade, but yeah, look, I've always told people that it is 10 times harder for people who are black getting into the trade because they don't like to employ black people, period. And when you are young and black, you kind of got to prove yourself a little bit more than everybody else inside the workplace. I'll save that for another video, but that's the reality, you know. It's the reason why a lot of us are minorities inside the workplace. It's the reason why you don't get the same chances as other people, which is sad in its entirety because when you understand life and you look at it and you say nobody's better than nobody. You know, could be a arsehole white guy, could be an arsehole black guy, Indian guy, same thing. The arseholes, they're just, yeah, this is for everybody, do you know what I mean? But for those who want to get into it, I would suggest you to have a strong backup plan in 2026. Something else that you can do. You can't just rely on being a plumber. You can't just rely on having these qualifications and then saying to yourself, oh, it's going to work out because it worked out for Steve. You're not Steve. A lot of people are going to keep their personal contacts and their contacts on how they get jobs and get into other places to themselves. So you need to start building on that, you know. I think I've got a lot to speak about when it comes to my experience within this game. And I will start popping up and doing some more lives to showcase that, but to also help people at the end of the day, because I feel that a lot of you lot can learn from my experiences where I possibly went wrong, where it's been difficult for me, and me just being transparent about it. I think it just shows people the reality and not the dream, because I think a lot of us are sold the dream when we first start, being told, oh, you'll make it, you'll make loads of money, plumbers make loads of money, da 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 da, it's a stable job, blah 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 blah. It's not. It's not. Cut the bullshit. It's not. It hasn't been for the last 3 to 4 years, and it's just been getting worse and worse. But it's just like, what do you do about it, innit? You can change your attitude. You can change how you are viewed by having better attendance, better punctuality, being more informative about the jobs what you do, and just showing the more professional side to you, which I started taking seriously probably about 8 years ago. That's when I first started being a supervisor, because I realized that if I want more money, I've got to take on more responsibility. That's just how it goes, isn't it? And then when you take on more responsibilities, you realize how much others fuck up at things and then want you to cover it up. When it comes to a lot of things, you know, I can speak about a lot of those types of things. But I would like to ask people, following off this type of conversation, what is the next type of conversation you would like to see me have on this live? Because I like to do those transparent conversations, you know. There was nothing scripted about this video. I just wanted to come on and speak my truth and just let people know that it's dead. It is dead. It used to be alive before, but it's dead now. I can comfortably say that. And I'm not worried about anybody sending me any backlashes or saying, oh, that's not true. What studies have you done? Because I know what studies I've done. I've done life studies. I've been sending my CV out on CV Library, been sending it out on Indeed, been sending it out on Reed, been sending it out on Total Jobs. Those are the platforms which generally cater for UK construction and plumbing, innit? They specifically target those areas. And again, one day I will do it for people's pleasure, yeah, which is I'll record me speaking to an agency about a job and I'll put it on here. Might get me banned from those people, but I don't really care. Do you know what I mean? I care about being nothing but transparent with people. Some years ago, I made a video, yeah, and I was talking about a certain company and how they've like messed up the industry because they've just started to get contracts all over, and their turnover is very fast. Some of the biggest the two companies were like that actually have the two biggest fastest turnovers when it comes to engineers and tradespeople. And it's a problem, but nobody wants to fix it. It's always kind of been worrying to me a little bit, but you know, sometimes we get on and we move. I think sometimes we don't have enough time to be able to reflect on the stuff what happens because we're still in the motion of going through it. You know, I've lost some jobs and felt down about it and felt, oh shit, did I do something? When no, it was just kind of like a ploy to get rid of you. You know, I've seen that numerous amounts of times. But even that being said, I want people to focus on themselves, because once you start focusing on yourself, knuckling down, giving yourself the right type of energy, looking for the right type of opportunity can take ages. It's took me 3 months to find a job, but nothing solid because I haven't got a contract. Again, I can keep badgering these people about the contract, but they're already telling me it's above me, mate. I've sent it to this person. That doesn't help me, does it? Because I only know you. So how do we get this thing sorted? Because that's all I'm on. I'm not on like upsetting or rocking the boat more than it needs to be rocked. Because you know, with a lot of people, when you rock the boat too much, they'll just say they don't want to deal with you. You know, so you got to be patient to some degree, but your patience runs thin after a certain amount of time. But I feel a lot better now that I've spoke to you lot about it. So make sure all of you lot like, share, and subscribe, because I've been on for 50 minutes now. It's good to de-stress, talk about work, say it how it is. And that's what I've done. So I want to know what your experiences I like, and how the quality of the live was today. I could have turned that on. It makes a little bit of a difference having a light on. Anyway, I'll be doing a few lives, so look out for it. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, make sure you share, and I'll see you on the next one, peeps. Let's get it. Subscribe, yeah? All of you lot. I'm out.